So there's a third really important flavor when we're talking about fermentation. Hey, Malcolm.
That's right.
And this is the famous and fabulous umami flavor. Umami.
Yeah.
What is umami flavor?
Well, in one word, bacon is umami. And for the vegetarians, it's nutritional yeast or miso, as we're going to taste right now.
Yeah.
So umami could be best described as savory, perhaps, is a good translation. There's a deep element of savory quality.
And we're passing around some miso to taste here, but this is chickpea miso. So miso is it's actually very interestingly transformed. It's Koji, right, Malcolm?
That's right.
So Koji is very different than any of the other ferments.
Yeah. So what happens, we're going to have, as part of the Ferment Fest coming up next week, I believe she's on Tuesday, the night you're going to miss, Donna. I know. We're having an expert from Lethbridge who runs a business working with Koji, and the particular, it's type of mold, isn't it?
Aspergillus.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Aspergillus oryzae. What it does, it's gluten-free.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's chickpeas,
brown rice, and then this culture, the Aspergillus oryzae, which basically starts to enzymatically break down the rice into simple carbohydrates, and then that kickstarts and allows the fermentation process to happen. Now, misos are very interesting in that, some of these ferments can be made very quickly at home within a few days. Some ferments are actually only 24 hours or just a few hours, whereas this one is a much longer period of fermentation. So misos can be notorious to be, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, even 5 years. And this miso, it will literally last forever. Now, I had somebody come to a workshop a number of years ago, and he was originally from Germany, and he had come over, moved to BC with a group of others from Germany to, kind of create a little commune, like back in the 70s. And the commune ran for a couple of years, and he was in charge of the kitchen at that time, like ordering all the food and organizing, stocking the pantry, communal meals, that kind of thing. And they ordered one of these giant tubs of miso. And I think they went through a couple of them, but at the time that the community disbanded, they were still maybe about kind of halfway through the tub of miso. And as they were distributing, everything's going their separate ways. He got the tub of miso. And he told me he still had some of it in his fridge. It was like this keepsake that he kept in the back, to remind him of those days and those times. And, he was slowly working his way through it, but he had this little jar left over from those days, and it was still perfectly good.
Apparently in Japan, if you are honored as a guest, they're going to bring out their oldest miso for you.
That's right. It's kind of like the Scotch, it's at the 15-year, the 20-year. And one of our mutual mentors and friends, Dr. Terry Willard, he used to say, back in kind of the 80s, like he's been in the health movement for several decades, and he would travel to Asia a lot, as well as frequent homes of people that would have him as his guest. And, he said back in those days, it was definitely not uncommon to see, 5-year, 10-year-old misos, where now it's pretty hard to come across that.
Yeah. The one we've got here, this chickpea one, is actually quite aged. It gets darker and darker as it goes.
Yeah.
This liquid is actually the tamari, and that's very prized. So when you see that dark brown liquid, you have a really good miso. But how's everyone's taste buds doing there? Are you noticing?
We've gone for a ride.
Are you noticing a salivation?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
So for sure, there's the salty again. We'll talk a little bit about the role that salt plays in fermentation, but Denise is going to share about umami, this magical flavor called umami.
So the umami flavor, it's, held in great reverence. And the multifaceted umami flavor enhances the other flavor siblings. It can boost salty and sweet, as well as subdue, bitter, and sour. But as a fifth taste, it also elevates food, providing richness and complexity while increasing satisfaction. Coating the tongue, it helps flavors linger. So the umami flavor, one of the things it does is produce satisfaction. When you have a meal that's very rich in umami.
Yeah. And it's the one that people try and cheat with MSG. That's the flavor they're trying to bring in. Yeah. Synthetically.
Very mysterious.
Yeah.
Very mysterious. So for the Ferment Fest this year, we are bringing this beautiful lady from Lethbridge that started a Koji company.
Yeah.
Big Life Koji. So that's going to be on the Tuesday night on the Ferment Fest. We have someone that's, well, I think she's going to teach us some interesting things about this food mold.
Yeah. So we've got several books here in the shop. Fermentation, like I mentioned, it's so diverse, it's so vast. And Koji, for a lot of people, myself and Denis included, is an area, a realm that it's still fairly untapped, in our day-to-day. Like, how long have you been fermenting for?
Well, over a decade now.
Over a decade?
Over a decade.
Yeah. I think I'm almost 2 decades myself. And, Koji is something I just haven't yet really, truly, deeply explored. So say more. Yeah.
I've never made miso, but I've used miso in a lot of dish.
So I've made a couple of misos now, 3 different misos, but Koji can be used in so many other ways. And a lot of chefs are actually kind of the, cutting edge in restaurants is they're actually using this Koji to tenderize meats as well.
It is what transforms rice into sake as well.
That's right.
To make alcohol from rice, you need the Koji. It actually eats the starches and transforms them into sugar.
Yeah.
And absolutely, it's what makes soy sauce, which is so good. Do we have any